Welcome back, Ram fans. Let's talk about this Rams-Chargers game, preseason game number 2. I'm not going to do my fearsome 4 keys to the game. Not ready for that yet. We'll save that for the regular season. We are going to just talk about the things we hope to see in this Rams-Chargers game. And man, it's a tough thing to discuss with this Rams team because who's going to play and how seriously do the coaches even take this? They put so much more weight on these joint practices and the stuff that we don't see. And sometimes we draw conclusions for what we're seeing in the preseason games, and we are fooled, and we're maybe going to get fooled again. But let's give it a shot. Let's talk about the things we want to see in this preseason game. We'll start with the offense. 4 things we want to see on the offensive side of the ball, 4 things we want to see from our defense, and then 2 closing thoughts. Let's do it that way. So on offense, what are the 4 things we want to see? Well, it's pretty straightforward as far as the quarterback position goes. We need Stetson Bennett to clean up his act and a cleaner game. You know, I really did see some things that I liked, some promising aspects to his game, but man, can't be turning the ball over like that. So we just want to see Stetson improve in that aspect of the game. You know, he's going to be our backup weeks 1 and 2. And that has a lot of us worried. Let's just leave it at that. So a step forward, 2 big steps forward by Stetson Bennett. That would be what I would hope to see. Pretty obvious, no-brainer there. And hey, if not, maybe Dresser Wynn gets a shot. I don't think he's the answer either, but how do we know? Get him out on the field, let him have a series or 2. The second thing I want to see from the offense, what about some continued improvement for some of these guys played really well. Zach Thomas, Bo Limmer, Logan Bruss, AJ Curry. Probably leaving guys out. Is Casey Leviston going to get out there on the field at all? Not sure about that. I'd love to see him. Warren McClendon getting some reps at left tackle perhaps. So again, don't want to overreact. If they do play well, we kind of need to see them dominate maybe a couple of these guys. That's what we really need to see. I get really excited when they play well, and Ian and Paul have to walk me back a little bit and say, hey, remember who they're playing against. They did not necessarily look good when they got plugged in against Cowboy starters in those joint practices, and the Chargers as well. So we need to see them dominate if they're out there. The third thing I want to see, hey, is Xavier Smith going to make a real push for a roster spot? I think Tyler Johnson, has he pretty much sealed the deal for himself? What's going on with Tutu? I don't want to throw too much shade on him. But it's really about Xavier Smith because I have a feeling Jordan Whittington is not going to play. We all want to see him play. He's so much fun watching. But I have a feeling he will not play or won't play much. It's going to be some of these undrafted free agents and Tyler Johnson and Xavier Smith. So let's see Xavier Smith light it up, and maybe in the return game as well, because that is related to, that'll impact what happens with Tutu, if anything. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be super negative about Tutu Atwell, but hey, it's the elephant in the room. Does he belong on this team anymore? And that's a horrible way of putting it as well. Does he have a role in this offense anymore? And if he does, then let's see it, Sean. Let's see it. It's quite a dilemma for the Rams offense, what to do with Tutu Atwell. And the last thing I want to see from this offense, I think it's a done deal who our 4 running backs are, but I still want to see Zach Evans. And, maybe the problem is he is generally so unproductive that they just got to get him off the field and get someone else out there. But at this point, what are we learning by giving Boston Scott 15 carries? I want to see Zach Evans, and I want to see a lot of them, if not for no other reason, to give him a shot at maybe landing someplace else, right? Let him get some carries, see what he can do. I loved what he did on that one pass reception, and I saw him downfield a couple of other times. So maybe that's the way to get him involved. Get him the ball, get him out on some routes, see what he can do. But yeah, we need to see him run between the tackles too. Okay, what about the defense? What are the fearsome four things I want to see on the defensive side of the ball. I want to see that battle for the edge rushing positions continue. Nick Hampton, does he have it sewed up? Maybe. Zach Van Valkenburg, O'Shawn Mathis, need to see more of them. Keir Thomas, maybe they can light it up a little bit. Love to see O'Shawn Mathis make a splash play or two. His chances of making this roster, and from what I can see, are maybe fading a little bit. So be eyeballing those guys for sure. If Nick Hampton's in, the silent assassin, I guess we'd expect him to continue what we saw last week against the Cowboys. The second thing I want to see from the defense, the kind of a similar deal, inside linebackers. Is Troy Reeder really on this roster for sure? My theory was, I think I got this from Paul, is Troy Reeder did not play partially because Ernest Jones' health was in question. So they sit Ernest Jones and they also sit Troy Reeder, not wanting to risk him. Is that really the case? Kind of guessing here, but Jake Hummel, Neal, Fatukasi, Spades all have a shot at making this team, but it's very possible the Rams only carry three inside linebackers, possibly four. Do the number crunch like I did on the roster lock segment a couple days ago. You'll see the challenge there, trying to nail down how many inside linebackers they might carry. But some of these guys, potentially very good special teams players. Jake Hummel is a good special teams player. So that battle may be one on the special teams practice field, actually. But I'll be watching for some contributions from those guys. All four of them, I think, have a shot at making this roster. And the third thing I want to see from the defense, what's going on with Trey Tomlinson and some of these other cornerbacks, Charles Woods, Jerry Jacobs. There's going to be a numbers crunch going on there in the secondary. I only had 6 defensive backs locked in on this roster so far. So there's a lot of jockeying going on. And a lot of times at the cornerback position, it's about opportunities. You know, if we're not seeing guys on film during the game, doesn't mean they're not doing their job. It could mean they're actually playing really well. Need to go back and watch, the all 22 film, stuff like that. But Charles Woods was getting a lot of hype on the practice fields. Trey Tomlinson, second-year guy, a little undersized. Can he stick on this roster? And then there's Jerry Jacobs, the guy they brought in, the ex-Detroit Lions. They signed him when Darion Kendrick was hurt. I don't think he's sealed the deal yet. So be watching the secondary, see if there's any standouts there. And really, I just talked about cornerbacks and safeties, kind of the same thing. Jalen McCullough, Tanner Ingold, Jason Taylor II, all battling for a roster spot. And the Rams need versatility from their defensive backs, especially the safeties, guys that can come up and play that star position a little bit. And that's what could be going on here in special teams play. Jason McCullough, Tanner Ingold, Jason Taylor, maybe none of them make this roster. Maybe a couple of them do. Again, I'm not going to get back into the numbers crunching like I did on the roster lock segment, but basically want to watch this secondary, this cornerbacks and the safeties, and see if anybody shows up, as Chris Shula and Sean McVay like to say. If they show up, if you notice them, probably good things going on there. 2 other things in closing I would hope to see in this game. This Charger defense right now, from what I've seen and heard, kind of stinks. Justin Herbert's not going to play. It's going to be their backup quarterback and probably a lot of backups on offense across the board. And their starters, in my opinion, are not that formidable. Their second stringer is even more so, less formidable is what I mean. So I would expect this defense, I'm not expecting a shutout, but I'm expecting something pretty close to it. The Seahawks held them to 3 points. Let's keep them out of the end zone. That'd be a nice, even though it's a preseason, you want to build a culture, a vibe that this defense is a shutdown defense no matter who's out there. So let's hold this Charger offense. Let's shut them down more or less. Hey, they may end up getting 3 or 10 points, but nothing more than that is what I'd hope for. And lastly, Joshua Cardi. We liked what we saw, hit the field goals, hit the game-winning extra point. Sean, give him a shot from 40 yards out, 48-yard field goal, somewhere in that area. I've been asking for that from Ram kickers forever. Time for Joshua Cardi to hit one. And, maybe Sean's going to forego the longer field goals because why risk it? The only thing you're going to really learn is, hey, he can hit it in a preseason game. If he misses it, does his confidence take a shot? So maybe they pass on the 50-plus long 50-yard field goals. So maybe they take a pass on those really long field goals. But hey, can we have a 46-yarder, please? That's all I'm asking for. So that's what I'm hoping to see in preseason game number 2 at SoFi Stadium against the Chargers, taking a few steps forward for all of these units out here from Rams Up.